you guys. Um, I'm streaming, live streaming, a hell of a time ago from Ghent, Belgium, EU, the Vooruit, which is cultural center from the industrial times, 19th century. So all kinds of things happen here. You have festivals, you have concerts, you have bands, and such. And so taking the time to have a slight web stream going on. The title I chose was Flanders Balls. Well, as we are nearing Christmas, well, you could righteously state that Flanders Christmas tree, for a Christmas tree that is, has no balls and no roots, obviously, neither that. What do I want to be pointing at with that? From the music professional level of hindsight, the major problem actually is that, and it is not only my personal problem, is that actually Flanders never seems to manage to platform its own real international professional capacities and real professional artists. Have we ever seen rock vocalists of Belgium, I mean really internationally licensed rock vocalists, come through on the US platform? No, nothing. It all got fucked up anyhow, anyway. Have you seen Bart Peters, for instance, a Flemish rocker, getting together on the real international US industry kind of rock platform? No, nothing at all. You have the same with other professional international artists like Yanis Kalzakis, who also try to get into American waves, but way much more richer than I could have ever fathomed to be. Neither of them became anything, whatever a thing could be. There are numerous other examples from other domains and levels of life where we see something which comes from Belgium gets dumped. It doesn't get to get supported by its own state on the professional level. It doesn't get no platforming supports, even when it's on the highest internationally classified staging and industrial levels of production. Has that anything to do with the protectionist kind of regime, which has been involved for about 5-6 years now? I would not exclusively make that a problem, anyhow, what the backgrounds and the reasons are, as I'm a utilitarian person, I only say it by matter of fact. For instance, a professional artist here, and sorted it out. Here first have to hand in a project 3 entire years before he may be deemed fit worthy so to get fundings from his. When I have to wait 3 years for a decent kind of funding, and I have to make a project about that, on that, and not even being sure that after that 3 years I would have any whatever grant at all. The best thing is to keep on studying, professionalizing oneself with the material you have from the existing rock industry platform, and then just hope everything goes fine. it makes, of course, the industrial rock platform and or classical platform itself is disillusioned, frustrated, overly frustrated, um, promises, the whole lack of managerial input for which actually the state and the country, the national level, is responsible, simply does not exist. In what I call decent countries, they have managers for professional platforming artists. Uh, Professional artists not only recognized by matter of fact like that, but known throughout the waves, gets to get platformed by the national level. They have a manager put behind him, see how things can be ruled, uh, congruencing with the international rock industry or classical industry platform is being created. In Belgium, zippers, nothing at all is being done or was done at all. Even when, for instance, Yanis Kalzakis, the Greek, a very well-known, also fashion dresser, um, even when he got all possible riches to his ability and to his availability, um, he still did not get anywhere with his Greek um, networkings, however rich they may be. So he had to subside and get back into Belgium. The same goes for about Peters. The same goes for instance, for America for days. You know, the real rock industry platform. They fucking never heard of it. They don't have the slightest idea what in God's name you are talking about. Well, legacy, that is me. They definitely do know. They do know I have been live performing in Nottingham 2014 on the Phobia album of Breaking Benjamin, on Common Courtesy of a Day to Remember. So they know not only that I exist, they know exactly precisely what my capacities are, and logically they have been waiting for the national platform to platform me. Now you can do two things. As I stated, I am a utilitarian person, which I think is apt for a professional person. Not only on the private side, but I think for a professional person, you have to be a utilitarian first. You know, um, what happened in Belgium was, as and that is not only for Belgium the case, as Western Europe lives in a regime opposed to what one aptly calls a government. Um, Everything is up to the institutional level being Politico ideologized. I have been talking that on Anonymous, also in posts. It's very simple. It means that institutions, diplomacy, everything gets to ideologize according to the official ideology of the regime, which not really makes the government a neutral platforming instance, even when that never is the case. So, for platforming a national image, you have the utilitarian neutrality of platforming professional capacities as they are, if they are congruent with the regime or not congruent with the regime. It's about sobriety. It's not only about sobriety, it's about not alienating neither you're platforming industrial partners. Because what happened in Belgium and happened in the past also is they leave platforming and fundings of any whatever a kind being exerted by, let's put it that way, political ideologically more apt for persons. For that political ideology abroad, in which the national regime, not government, can reflect itself, can recognize itself, and so the platforming also on the monetary level, also on the offering of natura, of other kind of fundings, grants, and networking capacities is way much more easily granted. Supposing it has a representative character, which a non-regime person has not. The problem is, in my case, they try to screw up a local Limburg a vocalist. I have to run a vocalist on the rock level, who had to start music school for also being able to play the guitar. I don't play the guitar, which I don't mind not playing. There are other industrial rock vocalists who don't play instruments or are only attending to their professional vocalists on the master or master skill level. That's entirely possible. And in between, when necessary, learning to handle a guitar. And so they put Politico ideologically pushed him into an international channel versus rock industry, international rock industry platform. It failed. It collapsed simply because when you have to attain to industrial levels, your real professional level on stage immediately has to be there. There cannot be a doubt on whether on stage you would be good or not. You have to be there and done exactly as the other professionals has to be. That is the meaning of professional industrial music profession. As the guy didn't manage to, which is no blame, of course he had to sign. Now when that happens, you get monetary levels and lobbies behind these kind of persons inducing an alien kind of political ideology into, in this case, the United States industry and other branches and hemispheres to be able to ensure platforming of the national Belgian regime through that, let's call them professionalizing artists. Everyone can know. I don't have to explain what is the consequence of that. The real professional artist is getting blocked, is getting mocked, his identity is falsified, a focus and a branding put on his any whatever layer of life, so he could possibly not get anywhere anyway. His contacts, professional contacts, are probably most surely by state security, which is regime anyhow also, gets to be simply annihilated. What happens is, even when the international rock industry or classical industry obliges, you still come out with an entirely different scaling, and with an alienation of inputting sources which disturb and disrupt the real platforming capacities for international professional artistry. So I have to make aware that there is no possibility with that kind of lack of scaling, with that kind of lack of sobriety in platforming, certified for international professional capacities as such, to induce political ideologized persons into the industrial international platforms. What has happened now is that none of both got anywhere anyhow. Is that the consequence of a protectionist regime? Um, I don't know. It's not really my question. It's not really the answer I have to give. I remain on the utilitarian level. Um, so I can only hope people by this short live stream get to be aware that the lack of scaling, the lack of platforming of the real professional artistry on stage after 6 years of die-hard labor in skilling and technicalities in studying lyrics and studying techniques and adapting to post-hardcore rock styles and their substyling diversity. If that is the result of what from the national Belgium level they are calling a platforming national image, then everyone can see that there is no national image at all. The sterility and inertia, wasting all the funds of the country on something which simply does not get anywhere at all, reveals it has nothing to do with national image. It has to do with the inducing of political ideologies, so as to be sure to obtain political and foremost ideological alienated goals within that other hemisphere, which is exactly what one should, in any whatever way, disrupt, block,